Last year, over 612,000 retirees packed up and left their home states. And in 2025, that number is exploding for one alarming reason you're not hearing on the news. For decades, retirement meant settling down, slowing life's pace, and enjoying the rewards of a lifetime of work. But for more and more Americans, that dream is colliding with an uncomfortable truth. The place they once imagined living out their golden years is now pushing them out. The reasons? Skyrocketing housing costs, crushing taxes, rising insurance premiums, and in some places, a cost of living so high that even careful savers are watching their nest eggs shrink every month. It's a perfect storm, and it's forcing tens of thousands of retirees to make a choice: stay and struggle, or start over somewhere new. Today, we're counting down the 10 states that smart retirees are leaving in record numbers in 2025, starting with a place once called the Golden State. For decades, California was the ultimate retirement fantasy: endless sunshine, ocean breezes, and the belief that your golden years could be spent surrounded by golden sunsets. But in 2025, that dream is slipping away for many retirees. And it's not because they want to leave. It's because they can't afford to stay. Housing is the biggest hurdle. The median home price statewide is $798,000, nearly double the national average. In areas like San Diego, Santa Clara, and Orange County, prices easily break $1 million. Even retirees who own their homes outright pay property taxes, averaging 0.75%, about $6,000 a year, plus supplemental taxes and local bond measures. California's overall cost of living is 48% higher than the US average. Groceries, utilities, and services all carry a premium. Gas prices hover around $5.20 a gallon, the highest in the nation. On a fixed retirement income, every extra dollar spent on daily necessities chips away at savings. In wildfire zones like Sonoma and Shasta counties, home insurance premiums can exceed $5,000 a year if coverage is even available. Many major insurers have pulled out of high-risk areas entirely. Add earthquake coverage, with deductibles often over $15,000, and the cost of protecting a home becomes staggering. California spares Social Security income from state taxes, but withdrawals from retirement accounts, like 401ks, are taxed as regular income. Combine that with a 7.25% state sales tax, which can top 9% in certain cities, and everyday spending takes an even bigger bite out of retirement budgets. It's not just about money. Retirees talk about worsening traffic, increased crime in certain urban areas, and healthcare access delays. While California has world-class medical facilities, Medicare patients in some regions face long waits to see specialists. From 2020 to 2024, California lost more than 340,000 residents age 55 and older. Many relocated to Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, and Texas, states with lower housing costs, friendlier tax laws, and more relaxed lifestyles. Selling an $800,000 California home can often buy a larger property elsewhere for under $400,000, with far lower property taxes. For many retirees, leaving California is bittersweet. They're walking away from lifelong memories, close communities, and a climate that's nearly impossible to beat. But the math no longer works, and protecting what's left of their retirement savings means making the hard choice to start fresh somewhere else. California remains stunning, vibrant, and full of opportunity, but in 2025, that beauty comes with one of the steepest price tags in America. And it's not the only state facing an exodus of its retirees. Head east, and you'll find another place where the reasons for leaving have less to do with wildfires and more to do with a different kind of financial storm. For generations, Illinois was a heartland stronghold. Retirees saw it as a place of rooted families, Midwestern values, and affordable living compared to the coasts. But in 2025, more and more retirees are deciding the Prairie State is no longer where they want to spend their golden years. Illinois doesn't have California's million-dollar price tags, but retirees here face their own version of sticker shock. The median home price in Illinois is about $270,000, lower than the national average, but property taxes are the real killer. Illinois has the second highest property tax rate in the country, averaging 2.07%. On that $270,000 home, retirees pay roughly $5,600 every year. more than homeowners in much pricier states. Day-to-day life isn't much easier. Illinois' cost of living is about 6% higher than the U.S. average, with rising utility costs and higher than average healthcare expenses. For retirees in fixed-income households, that's enough to chip away at savings every month. On top of property taxes, Illinois carries one of the most complex tax burdens for retirees. The state's flat 4.95% income tax doesn't apply to Social Security, pensions, or retirement account withdrawals, and that's a plus. But retirees still get hit hard with sales taxes that can top 10.25% in cities like Chicago, making everyday purchases more expensive than in neighboring states like Indiana or Missouri. Layered on top of this is Illinois' heavy debt burden. The state faces a staggering $140 billion pension shortfall, and many retirees worry higher taxes will be inevitable down the line to cover the gap. For people who already feel squeezed, that looming uncertainty is pushing them to leave. For retirees in Chicago, crime is another growing concern. While some neighborhoods remain safe, high-profile reports of rising carjackings and burglaries have created unease, especially among older residents who feel vulnerable. Outside Chicago, smaller towns struggle with shrinking populations, fewer job opportunities for younger generations, and limited healthcare options for aging residents. Between 2020 and 2024, Illinois lost more than 175,000 residents aged 55 and older. That's one of the fastest retiree outflows in the Midwest. Most headed to Indiana, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and Florida, places with either lower taxes, warmer weather, or both. To put it in perspective, a retiree selling a $270,000 Illinois home and moving to Tennessee could buy a similar property for about $240,000 and cut their annual property taxes by more than $4,000. Over a decade, that's nearly $40,000, saved enough to cover years of healthcare or travel in retirement. For many Illinois retirees, leaving isn't easy. They're saying goodbye to a lifetime of Midwestern roots, family ties, and familiar communities. But when faced with the choice of preserving their retirement savings or staying put and watching them dwindle, more are packing up and heading south or across state lines. Illinois once promised affordability, stability, and comfort in retirement. But in 2025, it's become a state where retirees see more financial risk than reward. And just down the Mississippi River, another state is watching its retirees leave, not because of property taxes, but because of weathering an entirely different storm. New York, the state that built the American dream. But for retirees in 2025, it's also the state they're abandoning faster than almost anywhere else in the country. At first glance, New York looks like two states. There's Manhattan and the metro area, where the median home price has soared past $680,000. And then there's upstate, where homes average closer to $220,000. But here's the trap. No matter where you live, property taxes are brutal. New York has the 7th highest property tax rate in the nation, averaging 1.7%. On a $300,000 home in upstate New York, that's over $5,000 a year, higher than what some retirees pay in Florida or North Carolina, on homes twice the value. But property taxes are just the beginning. Here's where the real financial squeeze happens. New York's overall cost of living is 27% higher than the U.S. average. Groceries are 20–40% higher, utilities climb in harsh winters, and healthcare costs consistently rank among the highest in the nation. Gasoline hovers around $4.20 a gallon, and electricity bills spike in winter months when heating is essential. For retirees on fixed incomes, the seasonal swings alone can feel like a financial roller coaster. Unlike states such as Florida or Texas, New York taxes retirement income. While Social Security is exempt, pensions and 401ks withdrawals are taxed as regular income above $20,000. Combine that with a state income tax rate up to 8.82%, and retirees often feel like they're working for Albany even after they've stopped working. And this is the part that's driving so many retirees over the edge, even those with fully paid off homes. Retirees aren't just leaving because of finances, they're also leaving because the quality of life is changing. In New York City, crime remains a major concern for older residents, especially those in transit-dependent neighborhoods. Upstate, the issue is often the opposite. Shrinking towns, fewer services, and limited access to specialized healthcare. In both cases, retirees are asking, is this really the place I want to grow old? Between 2020 and 2024, New York lost over 210,000 residents aged 55 and older. Florida, Pennsylvania, and the Carolinas were the top landing spots. Why? Because those states combine lower housing costs, warmer climates, and friendlier tax codes. A retiree selling a $300,000 home upstate could buy a similar home in North Carolina for $250,000 and cut their annual property tax bill to just $1,800. Over 10 years, that's more than $30,000 saved. For retirees who spent decades in New York, leaving is heartbreaking. They're walking away from Yankee Stadium, Broadway, familiar neighborhoods, and lifelong family ties. But when the choice is between staying put and slowly draining their savings, or starting fresh in a state where the math finally works, the decision becomes painfully clear. New York still has energy, opportunity, and culture like nowhere else. But in 2025, that vibrancy comes at a price too steep for most retirees. And if you think New York's tax burden is heavy, wait until you see the state that takes even more from its retirees, no matter how hard they worked. Pennsylvania, a state rich with history, rolling hills, and once a retiree haven. But in 2025, more retirees are leaving Pennsylvania than at any time in modern history. On paper, Pennsylvania seems affordable. The median home price sits around $253,000, well below the national average. But here's the catch. Pennsylvania has some of the highest property tax burdens for retirees outside of Illinois and New Jersey. The average rate is about 1.6%, which means the owner of a modest $250,000 home still pays over $4,000 a year just in property taxes. And for retirees living on fixed incomes, that's only the beginning of the squeeze. Day-to-day living in Pennsylvania carries hidden costs. Overall, the state is roughly 2% above the national average, but groceries run 10 to 15% higher in cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Utilities, especially heating, eat into retirement budgets during brutal winters, with average heating bills exceeding $2,000 per year. Even rural towns, once considered budget-friendly, are seeing higher living expenses due to inflation and limited competition among local businesses. Here's where Pennsylvania surprises many retirees. The state does not tax Social Security or retirement account withdrawals. On the surface, that's a win. But retirees still pay heavily through property taxes and local wage taxes. In cities like Philadelphia, retirees can face combined local taxes of up to 3.8%, eroding savings they thought were safe. And just when retirees think they've dodged the tax bullet, another challenge comes knocking. Pennsylvania ranks well for healthcare access, especially around Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, with world-class hospitals. But rural retirees face a different reality. Fewer providers, longer wait times, and hospitals closing at alarming rates. Between 2010 and 2024, over a dozen rural hospitals shut down in Pennsylvania, leaving older residents to drive hours for care. Add in harsh winters, icy roads, and declining infrastructure, and many retirees feel isolated instead of supported. From 2020 to 2024, Pennsylvania lost more than 92,000 retirees aged 55 and older. Many moved just one state south to Maryland, Virginia, or North Carolina, where property taxes are lower, winters are milder, and retirement dollars stretch further. A retiree selling a $250,000 Pennsylvania home could move to North Carolina and cut their annual property tax bill nearly in half, saving more than $2,000 per year. Over a decade, that's more than $20,000 back in their pocket, enough to fund healthcare costs, travel, or simply breathing room in a fixed budget. Leaving Pennsylvania isn't just about money. For many retirees, it means leaving the homes where they raised families, the neighborhoods they've known for decades, and the traditions that tied them to the Keystone State. From Steelers games to Amish country markets, retirees walk away with heavy hearts. But faced with winters that grow colder, bills that grow higher, and services that grow scarcer, they see no choice but to leave. Pennsylvania still offers culture, history, and community. But in 2025, too many retirees are finding those comforts come with costs they can no longer bear. And if you think Pennsylvania winters are tough, just wait until you see what retirees in Michigan are up against, where the cold isn't just weather, it's an economy frozen in decline. Michigan, the state of the Great Lakes, auto industry, pride, and small-town grit. But in 2025, It's also one of the most rapidly shrinking retiree states in America. At first glance, Michigan seems affordable. The median home price is just $237,000, far below the national average. But retirees here face a hidden burden: property taxes that average 1.54%. That means an annual bill of nearly $3,650 on a modest home. For a retiree who thought they'd downsized into comfort, it feels more like a trap. And that's before the real problems hit, the ones Michigan can't shovel away. Michigan's overall cost of living hovers just below the national average, but retirees feel squeezed by skyrocketing utility bills in winter. Heating costs can reach $2,500 per year, and with natural gas prices volatile, many retirees in 2025 are budgeting more for utilities than groceries. Add in car insurance, which ranks among the highest in the country, and fixed incomes start to collapse under the weight. Michigan once exempted pensions and retirement income from taxes, but in recent years, that exemption has been rolled back. Today, most retirees pay 4.25% state income tax on pension and retirement withdrawals. That change hit Michigan retirees hard, especially those who worked in auto and manufacturing jobs, their entire careers and expected pensions to carry them. Instead, thousands now watch their checks shrink before they even arrive. And the financial strain is only part of the story. The bigger issue is what retirees see around them. Michigan has a reputation for small-town charm and lakefront beauty, but many retirees live in communities hollowed out by decades of economic decline. Entire neighborhoods in Detroit remain blighted, while smaller towns in the Upper Peninsula struggle with underfunded services and closing hospitals. Add in harsh winters, months of snow, icy roads, and isolation, and many older Michiganders are left asking, is this really how I want to spend retirement? Between 2020 and 2024, Michigan lost more than 110,000 residents age 55 and older. Many headed south to Ohio, Florida, and the Carolinas, anywhere with lower taxes, warmer weather, and stronger healthcare access. To put it in perspective, a retiree leaving Michigan for North Carolina could slash heating bills by 70% and cut property taxes in half. That difference alone could save $40,000 over a decade, money that can be the difference between comfort and constant stress. Michigan ranks near the bottom for healthcare access in rural counties. Retirees in the Upper Peninsula often drive hours for basic medical care, while specialists remain concentrated in Detroit and Grand Rapids. For aging populations with mobility challenges, that distance feels impossible. And even in urban centers, hospitals are understaffed, pushing wait times higher than the national average. For lifelong Michiganders, leaving isn't just a financial decision. It's walking away from the Great Lakes, from autumn football traditions, from decades of roots in the same neighborhoods. But when the winters get colder, the bills grow higher, and the future feels uncertain, many retirees make the heartbreaking choice to start over somewhere new. Michigan's retirees are leaving behind snow, taxes, and broken promises. But in Massachusetts, the exodus isn't about winters or blight. It's about being priced out of one of the most expensive retiree markets in the entire nation. Massachusetts, home to Boston's history, Cape Cod summers, and some of the best hospitals in the world. But in 2025, retirees aren't celebrating. They're leaving in droves, priced out of one of America's most expensive retiree markets. The median home price in Massachusetts is over $587,000, more than double the national average. In Boston, it climbs past $700,000. Even downsizing into condos or smaller towns offers little relief, with values still topping $500,000. Property taxes average 1.14%, meaning annual bills of nearly $6,700 in a typical home. For retirees on fixed incomes, that's unsustainable. And just when retirees think they can handle the taxes, the day-to-day costs tell a different story. Massachusetts is the fourth most expensive state in the US. Overall, retirees pay about 47% above the national average. Groceries are nearly 20% higher, healthcare is 25% higher, and utilities run steep, especially during long winters. Gasoline prices hover around $4.30 a gallon, and tolls, parking fees, and car insurance in Boston make simply getting around another monthly stress. Unlike Pennsylvania or Florida, Massachusetts taxes most retirement income. While Social Security is exempt, pensions and withdrawals from 401ks and IRAs are subject to the state's 5% flat income tax. That might sound modest, but in practice, it drains retirees quickly. A $40,000 withdrawal costs $2,000 in taxes, money retirees thought they'd keep. And even for retirees willing to pay the price, Massachusetts throws up another barrier. The state boasts world-class healthcare. Boston's hospitals rank among the best in the nation. But access comes at a cost. Long wait times, crowded facilities, and sky-high premiums. Winters add another challenge. Snowfall in Worcester and western Massachusetts averages over 60 inches per year, leaving retirees snowed in for weeks. Add in traffic, gridlock, dense urban costs, and an aging infrastructure, and Massachusetts feels less like a retirement paradise, more like a daily grind. Between 2020 and 2024, Massachusetts lost more than 68,000 retirees aged 55 and older. The most popular destinations: Florida, New Hampshire, and the Carolinas. Florida offers no state income tax. New Hampshire provides proximity to family with lower housing costs. And the Carolinas deliver warmer weather and property tax bills that are half the size. The math is simple. Selling a $570,000 Massachusetts home could buy a $300,000 property in North Carolina and free up nearly $300,000 in equity. Over a decade, lower taxes and cheaper living can save retirees over $50,000 compared to staying put. Leaving Massachusetts cuts deep. Retirees are walking away from Red Sox games at Fenway, Cape Cod summers, and the deep sense of history embedded in every brick of Boston. But when the choice is between treasured memories or financial survival, many retirees realize they can't afford to stay. For them, the American Revolution's birthplace has become the site of their own retirement rebellion. Massachusetts proves that even world-class healthcare and rich history can't outweigh crushing costs. But in Connecticut, the problem is even sharper. It's not just about expenses. It's about being trapped in one of the smallest, most expensive states in America. Connecticut, the land of shoreline charm, colonial towns, and wealthy suburbs. But in 2025, retirees aren't rushing to settle down here. They're fleeing one of the costliest, most heavily taxed retiree states in America. The median home price in Connecticut is around $385,000. But in wealthy enclaves like Fairfield County, prices soar past $700,000. Even modest homes in Hartford County now average $320,000. Property taxes here are among the highest in the nation, averaging 2.1%. That means retirees pay $8,000 annually in taxes on a $385,000 home, a crushing bill for those living on Social Security and pensions. And if that sounds steep, Connecticut's day-to-day costs make the problem even worse. Connecticut's overall cost of living is about 18% above the national average. Groceries cost nearly 15% more, while healthcare expenses are 20% higher than average. Energy bills spike during long New England winters, with heating oil bills topping $3,000 annually in some areas. Add in tolls, high gas prices averaging $4.20 per gallon, and some of the nation's steepest car insurance rates, and retirees are left wondering if they can afford to simply drive to the doctor's office. Connecticut is infamous for its retiree tax policy. Unlike Florida or even Pennsylvania, Connecticut taxes Social Security for higher-income seniors, and it taxes pensions and IRA withdrawals at up to 6.99%. That means a $40,000 withdrawal could lose nearly $3,000 to state taxes. For retirees who spent decades working in New York City or Hartford's insurance industry, Connecticut turns retirement into another tax season. And as retirees count the dollars draining away, they face another challenge. Connecticut can't fix with money. Connecticut is beautiful. Fall foliage, quaint towns, and seacoast drives. But winters here can be long and brutal, with ice storms that make even simple errands dangerous. Infrastructure's aging, and traffic on I-95 is some of the worst in the country. Healthcare is strong near Hartford and New Haven, but rural counties often lack specialists, pushing retirees to travel or pay higher premiums. For many, the lifestyle isn't worth the trade-off. From 2020 to 2024, Connecticut lost more than 45,000 retirees aged 55 and older. Many headed south to Florida, the Carolinas, or even nearby Pennsylvania, where taxes and housing are lighter. The math is stark. Selling a $385,000 Connecticut home and moving to North Carolina can cut annual property taxes by 60% and reduce heating bills by over $2,000 a year. Over a decade, that's tens of thousands of dollars saved, life-changing money for seniors on fixed budgets. For retirees who grew up here, leaving Connecticut means walking away from decades of community, church congregations, Red Sox fandom, New England traditions. Many raised their children here and never thought they'd leave. But between the tax bills, the snow, and the relentless cost of living, Connecticut no longer feels like home. Retirees are realizing that the charm they once paid for now comes with a price they simply can't afford. Connecticut shows how even wealth and beauty can't hold back retirees when the math no longer works. But just across the border in New Jersey, the crisis is even worse, with property taxes so high they've become a national punchline. New Jersey, the Garden State, with beaches, diners, and neighborhoods full of generations of families. But in 2025, it's also the state most retirees are desperate to leave, driven out by the highest property taxes in America. The median home price in New Jersey hovers around $451,000, higher than the national average. But the real blow comes every year when the property tax bill arrives. New Jersey's effective property tax rate is 2.26%, the highest in the nation. That means the average homeowner pays $10,200 annually in property taxes. For retirees, it's a bill larger than some Social Security checks. Even modest homes come with crushing yearly costs. And as bad as that sounds, taxes are only the beginning. New Jersey's cost of living is about 13% above the national average, but certain categories are far worse. Groceries cost retirees nearly 15% more. Healthcare expenses are 20% above average. And car insurance is the highest in the nation, averaging $1,900 per year. Add in high tolls on the Garden State Parkway, rising gas prices near $4.25 per gallon, and sky-high utility bills in winter, and retirees are left bleeding cash month after month. Unlike Florida or Texas, New Jersey taxes many forms of retirement income. Pensions, 401k withdrawals, and IRA distributions face the state's progressive tax system, with rates climbing up to 10.75% for higher incomes. Even with exemptions for some lower and middle-income retirees, the unpredictability drives many seniors south. Retirees who thought their pensions would stretch far now see thousands drained every year. And even for retirees who can handle the bills, New Jersey adds another challenge they can't escape. New Jersey offers proximity to New York City and Philadelphia, beautiful shorelines, and vibrant communities. But it also brings traffic congestion ranked among the worst in the US, aging infrastructure, and declining affordability in suburbs that once defined the American dream. Winters are harsh, summers are humid, and coastal towns face rising flood insurance costs that can add thousands per year. For retirees on fixed incomes, it's a constant squeeze. From 2020 to 2024, more than 123,000 retirees aged 55 and older left New Jersey, one of the highest retiree outflows in the country. Their top destinations? Florida, Pennsylvania, and the Carolinas. The difference is staggering. Selling a $451,000 New Jersey home could buy a $300,000 home in North Carolina, cutting property taxes by 2/3 and freeing up $150,000 in equity. Over a decade, retirees can save $70,000 or more simply by moving out of the Garden State. For lifelong New Jerseyans, leaving isn't just about money. It's saying goodbye to Sunday diners, summers at the shore, and generations of family memories rooted in tight-knit communities. But faced with crushing property taxes, relentless costs, and shrinking value for their money, many retirees make the heartbreaking choice to leave behind the only place they've ever called home. New Jersey's retirees are being taxed and priced out of their own neighborhoods. But while Jersey's crisis is about costs, Alaska's retiree exodus is about something even harsher: survival in one of the most challenging climates on Earth. Alaska, the last frontier, with mountains that scrape the sky and wilderness that stirs the soul. But for retirees, this raw beauty comes at a cost. In 2025, many are packing up and leaving one of the most unforgiving retiree destinations in America. On paper, Alaska looks like a bargain. The median home price sits around $345,000, below many coastal states. Property taxes average 1.04%, making them moderate compared to places like New Jersey. But the numbers deceive. Homes here require constant maintenance against extreme weather, snow loads, frozen pipes, and high fuel costs that turn even a cheap house into a money pit. And those hidden costs don't stop at the front door. Alaska's cost of living is about 24% above the national average. Groceries are shockingly expensive. A gallon of milk can cost $6 to $8, and fresh produce is double the national price. Gasoline averages $4.90 per gallon, and utilities soar with heating oil bills running $4,000 to $5,000 annually. Every necessity, from food to medical supplies, must be shipped in, and retirees pay the premium. Alaska famously has no state income tax and no sales tax in many areas. For years, that was a selling point for retirees. But the savings vanish under the weight of everything else. Without those tax revenues, the state struggles to fund healthcare and infrastructure, leaving retirees with fewer services, longer drives, and higher out-of-pocket costs. The tax-free promise quickly feels like an empty trade. And then there's the biggest factor of all, the climate. Alaska's winters are not just cold, they're punishing. Temperatures plunge below 30 degrees, snow can trap residents indoors for weeks, and daylight shrinks to just a few hours in midwinter. For retirees, this isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Isolation increases fall risks, depression, and even the inability to access healthcare in an emergency. In rural areas, flights are often the only way to reach hospitals, and storms can ground planes for days. Alaska ranks near the bottom for healthcare access in the U.S. Rural communities face doctor shortages, with some areas having only one physician per 3,500 residents. Specialists are concentrated in Anchorage and Fairbanks, forcing retirees to travel hundreds of miles for routine care. Even in larger cities, wait times, stretch weeks, and medical evacuations can cost $20,000 or more, bills that Medicare doesn't always fully cover. From 2020 to 2024, Alaska lost about 12,000 retirees age 55 and older, a huge share for a small population. Most head south to Washington, Oregon, or Arizona. The contrast is staggering. A retiree selling a $345,000 Alaskan home can move to Arizona, where heating costs are a fraction, healthcare access is broader, and property taxes can be 40% lower. Over 10 years, the savings stack into the tens of thousands, money that transforms retirement. For those leaving, Alaska is more than a state. It's a dream. Retirees came for fishing in pristine rivers, for summers under endless daylight, for the idea of freedom at the edge of America. But as bodies age and costs climb, that dream becomes harder to live. The wilderness that once felt liberating now feels isolating. And many seniors leave with heavy hearts, knowing they'll never experience anything like Alaska again. Alaska's retirees are saying goodbye to the last frontier, trading wilderness for survival. But at the other end of the Pacific, Hawaii's retirees face the exact opposite challenge. Paradise so expensive, it's forcing seniors to leave in record numbers. Hawaii, the ultimate dream retirement. Palm trees, ocean breezes, sunsets over Waikiki. But in 2025, retirees aren't living the dream. They're leaving paradise behind, priced out of one of the most expensive states in America. The median home price in Hawaii is a staggering $835,000, more than double the national average. In Honolulu, that number climbs over $950,000. While property taxes are relatively low at just 0.29%, the real problem is the upfront cost. Even downsizing leaves retirees with mortgage payments larger than their fixed income can handle. Many live house poor, owning a slice of paradise, but unable to afford anything else. And the housing crisis is only the first wave of expenses that sink retirees here. Hawaii's overall cost of living is nearly 80% higher than the US average, the highest in the nation. Groceries are imported, pushing prices to extremes. A gallon of milk averages $7.50, eggs over $6, and fresh fruit nearly double mainland prices. Utilities are another shock. Electricity bills often top $300 a month, the highest in America. Gasoline runs about $5.10 a gallon, and car insurance costs more than in any mainland state. For retirees on fixed incomes, every trip to the store feels like another reminder. Paradise has a price tag. Unlike Florida or Nevada, Hawaii taxes, pensions, 401k withdrawals, and other retirement income at rates up to 11% for higher earners. Even moderate income retirees feel the bite. Add in high excise taxes on goods and one of the steepest state income tax brackets in the nation, and Hawaii quickly becomes a retiree tax trap disguised as paradise. And even for those who can pay the price, another obstacle makes retirement here unsustainable. Hawaii has unmatched natural beauty, but its challenges are serious. Healthcare access is limited outside Honolulu. Rural islands like Maui, Kauai, and the Big Island often lack specialists, forcing retirees to fly inter-island just for care. Island isolation also drives up wait times and costs. And when natural disasters strike, hurricanes, volcanic activity, or the devastating 2023 Maui wildfires, retirees find themselves vulnerable, with little recourse but to leave. Between 2020 and 2024, Hawaii lost over 22,000 retirees aged 55 and older. Most head for Nevada, Arizona, or California, ironically swapping paradise for deserts, simply because the numbers work better. A retiree selling a $835,000 Hawaiian home can often buy 2 homes on the mainland, one primary residence and one rental property. That equity flip transforms their retirement, offering stability Hawaii simply can't. For many, leaving Hawaii is heartbreaking. They came for sunsets over Diamond Head, family luau's on the beach, and the promise of living their final years in paradise. But the dream turned into a burden. Retirees leave with heavy hearts, knowing they'll miss the smell of plumeria and the sound of waves crashing at night. Yet, in the end, survival outweighs sunsets. And for thousands of seniors, Hawaii's aloha spirit has become a goodbye. Hawaii proves that even paradise can push retirees away when costs rise beyond reach. From California to Massachusetts, from Alaska to Hawaii, retirees across America are voting with their feet. And where they go next will reshape the future of entire states. From California's sky-high home prices to Hawaii's paradise lost, retirees are sending a clear message in 2025. They're voting with their feet. More than 600,000 Americans over 55 moved out of their home states last year alone, reshaping communities, housing markets, and even state economies. But this isn't just about numbers. Behind every statistic is a family packing boxes, a grandmother leaving grandkids, a couple walking away from the home they thought they'd never sell. It's the human cost of a retirement dream that no longer matches reality. For some, leaving means freedom, lower costs, better healthcare, a second chance at stability. For others, it means heartbreak, saying goodbye to the only place they've ever called home. And together, their choices are reshaping America's map in ways no one can ignore. The question is, where are they going? Which cities and states are winning the retiree migration wave? And why? The answers may surprise you. So if you found this video eye-opening, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our deep dive into the top 10 US cities smart retirees are quietly moving to in 2025. It's the flip side of this story, and it could change how you think about your own future. Until then, thank you for watching Shifting America. I'll see you in the next video.